Curries Hot Stove League this morning, brought to you by Zots Bar and Grill and by Big Rapids Tire. Our program this morning is going to be recorded, so we'll be talking to Pat and his guest coming up in just a moment on B1039. Come say cheers at Zots Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zots, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zots Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
Hey, this is Andrew from Big Rapids Tire. Putting off winter, good idea for some, but in reality, pretty much impossible. And if you wait too long to get snow tires, you'll be saying,
should have done it sooner. Dang it.
Or something slightly more harsh. Last thing you want is to be slipping and sliding, or even worse, delayed, because you can't get out of your driveway. Get fresh new snow tires from Big Rapids Tires. There's no better feeling than to confidently take on the roads in the rough weather with good solid snow tires on your car. Confidence and peace of mind. Priceless. Big Rapids Tire. There for you, whatever the weather. Fast and friendly service on Northland Drive, just north of Big Rapids. Call 796-4839. That's 796-4839. Big Rapids Tire.
Don't forget, you can stream our show at B1039BigRapids.com. Just look for the live tab, and you can hear the Curry shows every Tuesday and Wednesday morning. So let's say good morning to Pat Curry.
Good morning, Bob. How's everything with you this morning? Good, Pat. Thanks for asking. No, that's beyond me. Hey, listen, we got a great show this morning. Curry's Hot Stove Sports Show. With me today is Randy LaPerze from Big Rapids Realty, but better known as the Bucks Unlimited chair here in Mecosta County. Better known as a graduate of 1974 class down in Morley Stanwood. Better known as, I believe, he's got a long line of history of employment. I believe he was a teacher, and he's going to correct me when he gets on here. And I believe he was a principal. I believe he's a great father and a great husband. More than anything else, he's a great American. So we're going to talk to Randy a little bit here. But at first, before the show starts, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about what happened last night or yesterday afternoon over in the Biteley area. My good friend Doug Rant, our supporter here at the sports show from Zots Bar, has a home over there that his mother and dad lived in for many years, and he had a lot of artifacts in there and a lot of memorabilia of his dad stolen. Somebody broke into the house, and it just didn't do it any good. And it's kind of sad, Bob, because the guy many people, and why does things like this happen to good people? Beyond my comprehensive. But anyway, great guy Doug, and I'm sorry that happened. Today we bury a fellow here in Big Rapids, Larry McNeil, good Christian man, but just a great American, great father, great husband. If you went down to St. Paul's at all, yesterday I should say, he had a line of people out there, and it was raining. People are standing out there waiting to pay tribute to a great American, an outdoorsman, a barber on the east side, dance barber shop for many, many years. He was a taxidermy guy, so he touched a lot of guys' lives, and as I came out, I couldn't believe how many people were there. My Lord, it was just, I can believe that, but just keep him and his family in your prayers. Randy, you could talk about him too. I know you knew him real well to Bucks Unlimited. But anyway, it's deer season. We got the buck pull up. We've got a lot of sponsors, and Randy LaPerze that's with us today is going to talk about that a little bit, about what it means to be a buck hunter. He's an avid buck hunter, but he donated some nice hats to us, so anybody that brings a buck in until supplies last is going to get a Bucks Unlimited blue and white hat. It's beautiful hats. A lot of people are very proud to take them home with them. We've had some great bucks, Randy. 14 points, the biggest one. We got some great surprises. That guy is going to be able to get a shoulder mount from Woodland Taxidermy, and then we have some, I think, 5 great guns to give away to the other winners. The biggest 10, biggest 8, biggest 6. I don't know about the 4, but anyway, welcome, Randy.
Hi, Pat.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yep, and thanks for coming. But anyway, all I want to do this morning was just take a a little bit of your time because I know you're busy with the real estate going on and everything. But let's just touch on your life a little bit. You were raised in the Morris Stanwood area?
That's correct, Stanwood.
Yep. And your dad did what then? What was your dad?
My dad worked for Reese Riley, and
Okay.
he passed away in 1987, but he had driven a blacktop truck for years and years and years.
Yeah, that was who was the big guy down there that
Al Loomis.
Yeah, Al Loomis, and then there was another guy right there on the pond. His daughter married a Rakoff. Corbett, yeah, Jack was well known down there. Boy, a lot of people from that area worked for Reese Riley, didn't they?
And they still do.
Yeah,
they still do. The Waldos have a long history there as well.
So Chad's a real good guy. He's helped out the community. Like, he's another one of those silent guys that helps out a lot of people, doesn't he? I know he's been good to the fair over here, and whenever something's need to be done, he's there to help. So you went to Morristown High School?
Correct.
And then you went to college?
To Ferris, and then to Central Michigan.
Then you got a teaching degree?
Teaching degree, and taught for 3 years, and then was a principal for 20, and then went back and taught for, I believe it was 11 after that.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Kids have changed.
They have.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah, sometimes better, huh?
Oh, yeah.
It is what it is.
My wife, Stacy's a teacher, and she loves every minute of it. She enjoys that.
Well, then you played basketball. You were inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, Mecosta County Hall of Fame. That was quite a nice tribute to you, wasn't it?
That was very unexpected, and I was very grateful for that. But there are a lot of great people that are in that, and somehow I'm not sure how I got in.
Well, you're a pretty good basketball. I know you don't like to brag, but you guys had a pretty good record back in the day and when you played?
Morley Stanwood has been very fortunate in basketball in more recent years. Within the last 20 years, they've had a state championship in basketball and a couple in volleyball. But
I know, at volleyball, man, they set the standard for the area for that, didn't they? They're tough, huh?
Yeah, Robin Koju, the coach, has been there a long time. She still looks like she's about 20, but she has coached a long time, and she's developed some great players there.
Don't you think that helps to keep that tradition going when you win like that? A lot of girls want to get on that wagon, don't they? Where if you have a sport that you're depressed in, nobody really wants to play, or they get used to getting beat up all the time. They say, well, we're supposed to get beat. Morris Stanwood has that philosophy, like, no, we're not going to get beat, we're going to win, right?
Robin has made it fun for lots of girls over the years, that's for sure. And it's a sport that I really didn't know anything about it until my daughters were in it. Most recently. My oldest daughter, Allie, played some volleyball, and then Landry and Sydney, the younger ones. And my wife, Stacy, had to teach me the rules. I had never watched a volleyball game until my girls had been in it.
Isn't that amazing? I'm like that myself. My daughter didn't play it, and of course my boys didn't play. But now my granddaughter, Maddie's 13, and her mother, Amanda, played in Mackenzie. They're both pretty good athletes in their day, and she's coaching them, and Maddie goes out in the yard and plays it all the time, and her neighbor girls come over, and man, she's getting pretty good. And it's a sport that most of us guys never went to. Why would we go to a volleyball game? But once you go to one and understand it, it's a very, very competitive game and very talented game. You got to be your hand-eye coordination is probably the most unique thing you have to have in that game. That's for sure. That being said, Tia up there to Fair State, we want to congratulate Clea Championship. I don't think people realize what it takes to go undefeated
in volleyball.
Yeah.
Tia is an outstanding coach. Just talked to her the other day. What an accomplishment to play the schedule that she plays, because she plays a tough schedule. And to be undefeated is just incredible. I sure do wish them the best as the tournament starts this week and goes on. And she's a hard worker, and she's had great teams for years and years and years. Incredible program she has.
Yeah, she really inspires those girls. We had them on the show here, a month ago, Bob, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, or whatever it was. And you could see in all those girls, whenever she spoke, they watched her. and they not only watched her, but they watched her body movement. That she is such a professional that they want to be like her, they want to emulate her. And I think as far as keeping the momentum up, that my hat and everybody else is off to her. It's like Tony Anise, man. Every time he plays a football game, it doesn't matter if it's Grand Valley or if it's Michigan Tech, those guys are out to beat him. Now these girls have set themselves on a pedestal that, hey, come and get us. And they're willing to take the challenge on. That's the amazing thing. They play in some schools that put a lot more money in their programs than Ferris does. It's just unbelievable. Don't you think, Bob? Yeah, I do. Well, I knew you did, Bob. But anyway, we came to talk about sports, and that's what we're talking about, folks. We got Randy LaPerze with me, and he's very much involved with Bucks Unlimited. And I want you to touch on that a little bit. How long has that been going on? Has it been 10, 20 years? And how long have you been with it? And why are you so passionate about Bucks Unlimited?
Well, Whitetails Unlimited itself started in Wisconsin in 1982. We didn't begin a chapter here until 1996 was our very first banquet. That was the time Whitetails hired their first state director. So there was somebody on site here. And so our first banquet was in 96. We've had a banquet every spring except COVID. That broke our streak. Mm-hmm. So from 96 to now, we're approaching 30 years, and we've just had really good support from the community. And the hunting is a family sport. Families have long traditions with hunting, and no different with our banquet. We have kids at the banquet. We have guys. We have wives. We have girlfriends. Try not to have wives and girlfriends there at the same time.
That wouldn't go over too good, but
yeah. But we've been blessed over the years. We started out having our banquets at the creek, and then we went to the Holiday Inn, and for the last long time, we've been treated really well at the Eagles here in Big Rapids. And each year we have, it's varied over the years from 250 to, over 300. There were times that we had back in the day 400 people.
Wow.
At a night. And we give away a lot of prizes. The monies we raise over the years, we've supported different things. We started out one of our first years by putting deer books, like series of books all about whitetail deer and just, from birth till death to how they grow in between. And we put those in libraries for kids. And we gave to local conservation groups, the hunting clubs. And the last long time here, all of our profit that we get from, as the Mecosta County chapter, we donate that to Quest Ministries for the youth challenge hunts and Purple Heart disabled vet hunts that occur here in Big Rapids at Two Hats Ranch.
Yeah, Two Hats, yeah.
And that is just such a special program that Skipper started way back when, and the Bettis family has just continued that. They bring in kids from all over the country, Michigan and all over, depending on the year. There are different, obviously different kids come in every year, and it's a 4 or 5 day period where those kids get an opportunity they never had before, because most of those kids haven't played Little League, T-ball, rocket football, ice skating, volleyball. These kids are kids who have severe challenges, at least in our eyes, but in their eyes, there's nothing they can't overcome. And their entire families come, and it is just a remarkable time. There's lots of laughing, and there's lots of tears from those of us that are just, standing in the background, just admiring the courage of these kids and the heart and their enthusiasm. And they don't know they have challenges. They just go about each day with such love and grace, and it's a special time for them. And then the week after the vet hunt, or excuse me, the week after the kids hunts, they bring in the Purple Heart disabled vets for a hunt. And that hunt's called the Billy Ray Parnell hunt. And Billy Ray was Skipper Bettis's best friend growing up in high school.
Right.
And they both signed up to go to Vietnam on the buddy system.
Right.
And Skipper, because of his bad knees that he's had replaced since, but he couldn't go in the military, but Billy Ray did, and Billy Ray went to Vietnam and was only there a short period of time before he lost his life. And in his honor, Skipper created the Billy Ray Parnell Purple Heart vet hunt, and that brings in veterans from around the country. And I remember very well talking to one of the vets. It was probably about 12 years ago, that asking about his war experience while he was there. He was injured bad in Vietnam, and he told me he had had 67 surgeries on his Vietnam injuries, since he was back here in the States. And that number has just stuck with me. 67 surgeries as a result of serving his country, and they all have stories similar to that. And those guys come in, and it's just a chance where, their contribution is appreciated by everybody there, and it's just a special week for them, just like with the kids. And they get to hear about the good Lord, and spend some time in the Word, and spend a lot more time eating well and out in the woods, and going home with a whitetail buck, just as a commemorative of their experience here.
What, going back to the kids a little bit, how does a parent get his kid involved with that? What do we do to outreach as far as reaching out to those people to get their kids? What's the criteria that you have to do there?
Criteria, Skipper and Colby could cover that better with her, but anybody that had interest in supporting that, or if one of their own children, if they knew somebody who had a challenge that might get them in, would be to call Skipper or Colby right at Two Hats Ranch, and their phone number is an easy one. It's 796-HATS. And they could go over the criteria.
They had one just recently, didn't they?
Every fall.
Oh.
It's end of August, early September every year.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day that went out there, and they said, man, they had the time of their life. They just couldn't believe it. The skeet shooting thing they have.
Oh, they have that too.
They have a lot of fun.
In addition to the deer hunting, they have a long range. It's a 1,000 yard or 1,000 meter long range.
Yeah.
I think I struggle at 50 yards and beyond.
Right.
But they also do the skeet shooting, and people can call and go out and do that, or take part in one of their scheduled events. But 231-796-HATS.
Been a great addition to the Grabbers, haven't they?
They're great people.
Randy, you talked about a family tradition, so I obviously believe your dad hunted back in the day, and he got you interested in it?
He did.
How many siblings you have?
I have a sister.
Okay, did she hunt?
She's not a hunter.
No, back in the days, girls didn't hunt. Well, I shouldn't say that. So there's girls hunting back in there. I know Carlene Rose Schubert. She was from the Schubert clan. She's hunted ever since she was old enough to pull a trigger. So there's a lot of girls hunted back then, but not as many as there is today.
Right.
So your dad hunted, his dad hunted. Just a great tradition. But where did you see your calling to get involved with the Whitetail Foundation there? Who got you in that?
I went to a number of different banquets. There are lots of different kinds of outdoor banquets to go to. But deer have always just fascinated me. I even raised them for a while. Had a small enclosure. But deer, just like I said, always fascinated me. And so when I heard of Whitetails Unlimited, but there weren't any chapters in Michigan, made a call to Whitetails. They had just hired George Rice as the state director. He was a retired DNR employee, and that's how we started.
Well, it's pretty hard to start something like that foundation up, isn't it? But you have a lot of people that love deer hunting, so you
Yeah.
fell into the thing pretty easy. It was pretty easy then, wasn't it?
It was here. People in Mecosta County have been very receptive because so many of us like to hunt.
Right.
And going to a banquet where you can win guns,
I know.
bows, stuff about deer, whether it's prints or just whatever. It's just in our
Who
banquet.
goes out and gets all that stuff? I know you do too. I know you've been out there. But
We get some donations locally,
Uh-huh.
and our area's been very good with donations.
Yeah.
Rob Draves, Big L with Draves Deer Mineral, Big L Lumber. There are so many people here that are sponsors. Bush Insurance, lots of people have been sponsors every year. But we actually have allowed people just to volunteer to donate versus back in the day when we used to go door to door.
Right.
There are so many people looking for donations now.
I know,
that
that's
we've tried not to,
right.
go door to door and push too much, but people have just been very supportive of it in donations and attendance. And the night of the banquets, people are very giving with their money because they
Right.
get a chance to hear some of the stories of the kids and vets that have been here, and so ours is a very giving community.
When's the banquet? When,
We are scheduled for next spring,
Okay.
Thursday, March 20th, if my memory serves me correctly, at the Eagles. And the Eagles always do a great job of taking care of us. It's a nice place. We have some people that come from afar who happen to hunt in the area, but for the most part, there are just a lot of people from, Mecosta County, Osceola County, Newaygo County. It's a good local turnout. But my love of deer comes from my dad, for sure.
Yeah, right.
Sitting on a stump. I can't believe the way we hunted deer in
I know.
1960 compared to today.
Right, yeah.
When my son and I are out there, we're sitting in a shelter, a hut,
Uh-huh.
hunting blind, and we've got one or two gas heaters, and we have thermos, and we have windows on the blind.
Mm-hmm.
My dad used to sit on a stump and had a stump for me to sit on, and we didn't have great clothes now.
Right.
I still have old-fashioned clothes, but my son Clint, he has all the latest and greatest.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, my dad could go out all day. None of my dad's buddies wanted to go hunting with him because he'd get there an hour or more before daylight.
Oh, yeah.
Sit on the stump and not come in until well after dark. And
Right.
nobody wanted to stay that long. But
Right.
had some great memories with my dad, deer hunting.
My dad didn't hunt back then, but my brothers and I would go out to the Depews out there in New Costa Avenue off of 19 Mile Road, and my Uncle Lorne had 5 boys, and all of us boys would camp out there for deer hunting for a few days, and boy, we used to just push those deer through the swamp. The youngest boys had to push the deer, and the older guys got to sit on the outside lining areas. And so when the deer came through, they just opened fire, and we're in that swamp. I'll never forget it. And finally, we got old enough that we got to sit on the outside, and the younger ones. So it's a tradition for the Curries and Depews every year. But we had no camps. We had a house that we called the camp, the barn. But back in those days, we had no deer blinds. Didn't know what a deer blind was. You were up against a tree and froze to half to death with those leather shoes that you had.
Oh, yeah.
there.
On the ground, too.
Oh yeah, damp, cold, and the wind would blowing. But it was just a great tradition to remember, that's for sure. But now they have some great blinds. I know Ben Brandt, a few years ago, his kids are growing up so fast on me, but he invited me out to deer camp. So his camp was a blind. It was up in the air about 18 feet. Beautiful stairway. Of course, he's quite a carpenter, and built this beautiful 20 by 20 blind. Had a couch in there you could fold out into a bed. Had a card table. I think he even had a refrigerator up there, but it was just really comfortable, and I drove up there and couldn't believe it, but gosh, they get some good deer out of it, and it is comfortable. So times change, right?
They do.
And it's great that you do all this. What's the biggest deer you ever got then? What's your trophy? What's the smallest one then, if you remember that one?
I had some spike horns. That had a lot of
Well, Grant,
spikes.
let's talk about that a little bit. Back in the day, I got a spike too, and I still got the horns, and I had a little mounted, but it was cute. I got it out to Burt Douglas's out there on Pierre Marquette. But back in the day, you shot in, you had horns on it. When did it change that everybody said, nope, we're going to let the 6s go because they're going to mature into 12s and 10s? And boy, we have bigger bucks now than we ever had, so the program has worked, hasn't it? Or is it because we have lesser hunters?
It could be a combination of both, but the area, the habitat has been reduced because we have so many more houses now in our area than we did 25, 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
But, in the last 25 years, I think that people have made kind of a conscious effort to let the small ones go. I'm chuckling because when you ask about my first deer, one of those times I was sitting on the stump by my dad, and that spot is, like 600 yards from where I live right now.
Oh, really?
That same spot, because we ended up buying land out there. My wife and I did, Stacy and I did, and we built a house. But this one particular morning, it would have been my first year that I was old enough to hunt, and I can't remember what that was. I had the 20 gauge shotgun with me, my dad's shotgun, and he had his rifle, and I had slugs in it, and it was cold. Oh, it was so cold, and it was so frosty, and all those oak leaves. We heard a single deer coming up the hill, and my dad was a believer that if it was a lone deer, oftentimes it was going to be a buck. Mm-hmm. And so he heard it coming. It was making lots of noise coming up, and he said, turn around, had me pointing in that direction, had my gun up, and it was all ready. He said, get your safety off. And all of a sudden, over the side of the hill came this monstrous rat for back in the day. And that thing stepped up over the hill. When those antlers appeared, my dad said, hold on, I got this one.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
We laughed about that forever.
Oh, my gosh.
He shot, and the buck dropped, but then hopped up and took off running, and he and I both were unloading, and he said that he was sure I hit it, but I don't think we ever found his spot. But that was my first, experience with a gun. But I was so proud of my dad, and he went down and won a contest. They had a contest in Stanwood at the time, and he won that for the biggest buck, and it was the only deer he ever had mounted, and that hangs in my house.
You talked that your dad and you had a great relationship, didn't you? How did that influence you as a person?
A bunch.
Yeah.
My dad and my mom, went to every horse show, every, basketball game, anything that we ever had going on, my parents went to, and Stacy and I strive to do the same thing with our kids. And when you have two kids playing sports at the same time, sometimes mom's going one way to a game and dad's going to another. But I think there's so much of that goes on here. You see a lot of families, whatever school your kids go to, moms and dads are there, and grandpas and grandmas, aunts and uncles, and brothers and sisters. Sports in general can be a great place for families just to hang out and be together.
So your success, you're more or less saying, if it wasn't for your dad and mother, you wouldn't be where you're at today.
For sure.
Yeah, so it is important, isn't it? I mean,
I had a grandpa and grandma that lived right next door.
Yeah.
Albert.
Was it hard when you lost your grandpa? I know it's a dumb question, but I have grandchildren living next door to me, and I always say, I'm not afraid to go. I don't want to go right away, but time's running out. But I do kind of feel sorry for my grandkids because we're so close. Sometimes I envy the people that have grandkids 3 or 4 states away. They see once a month or once a year or whatever, maybe not every year, but there's a lot of positives, obviously, and it builds character in children, having the peers that they have with a grandpa, if it's a good grandpa, and great parents. And I love to hear stories, but you touched on your dad often during this conversation. So how old was he when he passed?
He had a 1-second heart attack at 59.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he was going to retire from Reith Riley the next year after that. And we weren't expecting it at all. But another if I can
Nope, you go right ahead.
digress here.
Yeah.
Somewhere when I was about 10, so in about the mid-60s, my dad was working as a carpenter between times working as a truck driver.
Right.
And some of the housing units on the east side of town here were being built then. And on October 15th, he put a brand new blade in the radial arm saw, and as they were building those buildings, and slipped his gloves back on, and his very first cut, his hand slipped into the saw, and he lost his hand.
Oh, my Lord.
And Dick Jensen, who had just graduated high school, was working with Dad, and Dad had taken it off right below the fingers.
Oh.
But he still had it. There's a little skin holding it on.
Oh.
And he went over and hollered to Dick and said, "You got to take me to the doctor." And Dick said, "What'd you do?" And Dad said, "I cut my hand bad." And Dick said, "Let me see." And Dad said, "No, you don't want to see it." And Dick wouldn't take him until he let him see it. It was part of the 18-year-old thought process there. So finally, Dad showed him his hand, and Dick turned white. And then Dad said, "I thought I was going to have to drive myself to the hospital," but they hopped in Dad's truck and drove like heck down just over the river where Dr. Cummings, the Buffalo doctor, lived.
Oh, yeah.
And they stopped at his house and went to the door. My dad walked to the door.
Gosh.
And Doc had some choice words for my dad. They were best friends back in the day. About getting his anatomy to the hospital real quick. And they went to the Stanwood Hospital.
Yeah.
And Doc sewed it back on.
Oh, my Lord.
Dad ended up being in the hospital for over 2 months, if I remember correctly. And it was on October 15th, 1 month to the day of deer season. And Dad told Doc, he said, "I'm getting out for opening deer season. I am not missing deer season." And Doc said, "There's no way." Well, as they got closer, between my grandpa and my dad, they convinced their good friend Doc Cummings to let Grandpa pick Doc up like at 5 in the morning from the hospital. Grandpa had made up some contraptions and had bought Dad a gun he could pick up one-handed. Left him alone in with this big cage over his hand and his arm. And he promised the nurses when he left, he said, "I'll be back at 10 o'clock with a buck." Well, he was late. It wasn't till 10:45 he came back with a buck. A buck walked up over that same hill that I was talking about.
Wow.
Dad picked the gun up one-handed, called Grandpa on the walkie-talkie, and they took Dad back.
How old was your dad then?
Oh, gosh, he was born in
30s?
Yeah, he'd been in his 30s.
Wow.
Yeah. He went back and spent a month more or so. And
Then he got used to his hand again then?
he did. He ended up having more surgeries. And Albert Swanson was a hand specialist that was all over. We saw him on the evening news, ABC News, NBC, CBS, the evening news,
Yeah.
because he did such great work with Vietnam vets coming back.
Yeah.
But he did surgery on my dad many times in Grand Rapids. And you remember back to the Stanwood Hospital, that was a pretty small place.
Yeah.
And didn't have a large staff. But Dr. Swanson told my dad and mom on numerous occasions that he said, "Carl, if you'd have come to me that morning," he said, "I couldn't have done any better job than Doc Cummings did for you."
Boy, he had quite a remarkable man from Stan with the buffaloes and all that.
Oh, Doc was a great guy. My dad built Doc a tugboat that they had on the river where Doc lived right there by the bridge south of that beautiful stone home.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Doc's.
that's right. He lived there, didn't he? That's
Yeah,
right.
and Doc wanted a tugboat, and so he and Dad built that in our garage.
So you more or less were from Stanwood then?
Yep.
Not more, you were Stanwood.
Stanwood, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I remember Len Goldthwait. I loved him dearly.
Good
I'd always
guy.
say, I'd introduce Len to somebody who didn't know. I'd say, he's from more. No, I'm not from Stanwood. That 5 mile dividing line, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and he
it
was
was.
on this side or whatever. It was funnier than heck.
And Lynn and
Take a
I,
break, Bobby. Let's talk about our sponsors for a minute. Who are they, Bobby?
We're going to hear from in just a second.
Zot's Bar
You're not
and
gonna hear
Grill.
from me.
No, Zot's Bar and Grill, and we got.
Mike over here.
Huh?
Yeah, we have a different studio this morning, so I'm way over here.
Yeah, that's good though. Want to take a break, bud?
We'll take a break.
Take a break. Yep.
Hey, this is Andrew from the Graphics Tire. Putting off winter, good idea for some, but in reality, pretty much impossible. And if you wait too long to get snow tires, you'll be saying,
Should have done it sooner. Dang it.
or something slightly more harsh. Last thing you want is to be slipping and sliding, or even worse, delayed, because you can't get out of your driveway. Get fresh new snow tires from Big Rapids Tires. There's no better feeling than to confidently take on the roads in the rough weather with good solid snow tires on your car. Confidence and peace of mind. Priceless. Big Rapids Tire. There for you, whatever the weather. Fast and friendly service on Northland Drive, just north of Big Rapids. Call 796-4839. That's 796-4839. Big Rapids Tire.
Come say cheers at Zot's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zot's, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zot's Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
Hey, welcome back. Got Randy LaPerze from Big Raps Realty, but better known as a great mentor to a lot of young people. And thanks to him, Whitetails Unlimited is here in Mecosta County, and it's a great tradition since the 1990s. It takes people like Randy to make things happen. You can make a difference like he did in a lot of people's lives, and I'm sincere when I say this. He was a teacher, he was a principal, probably coached, I don't know. He was a great athlete. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame of Costa County. Probably a little late. He probably should have been inducted years ago, but we've had a lot of great people from the Stanwood area that care about people. I can think of names like Hunty, the baseball coach down there, Ford, was it? Yeah, he was a great Hall of Fame coach. Then we have the track coach. I've only
Fred
called.
Yeager.
Yeah, Fred. God, I love Fred, and he was inducted a few years ago. And, it meant a lot to Fred. A lot of people come in and are inducted and say, it's been very, very impressive that I am inducted, blah, blah, blah. But to Fred, it was the pinnacle because, he loved to be appreciated. And he's humbled by it, don't get me wrong. But like he would always say to me, man, you were a hell of a coach. Always, I had some great athletes, Pat. And then he would name them off. He'd name off the athletes. He goes, it's pretty good being a coach when you got great athletes. So, that's Fred. But you guys traditionally have had a lot of people that made a difference, like Jack Corbett and like your dad. I remember your dad's name real well, LaPerze name. So you're carrying on that tradition, which everybody in Big Rapids and Stanwood and Mecosta County really appreciate of what you're doing right now. And I hope you continue doing that. But we need young people to get involved. That being said, Randy, if some young man out there is listening and says, yeah, I want deer hunting to flourish forever, I want to get involved, how would they do that? Call you?
Well, they could call us and we would invite them, to our banquet for sure. And there are a lot of people there that they could meet and, help them out. But going to a hunter safety program would probably be the first thing they need. And there are some really good ones in our area that help with the kids, and any of the sporting goods shops around, would help hit them in that direction. But it's amazing. We've had different people over the years that were mentors to kids, and
but Randy, I'll tell you what intrigues me about this show. I have people like you on, and you obviously know we don't script this, but every one of them, successful ones, talk about their dad, how important he was in their life, and to hear you tell the stories, I know he's up in heaven looking down saying, I haven't been forgotten, have I? You know what I'm saying, Randy? It's almost like a tearjerker because, like, I think of my dad. He's been gone since '95. He lived a good life. He smoked and drank as much as he wanted to. Not that he was an alcoholic, but he loved to party. He's a legend in my mind. But I'll be driving down the road. I'm sure this happens to you too. And all of a sudden you think of him. Been gone all these years, and you start crying a little bit. You think, good Lord, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in this radio right now. If it wasn't for my dad, I don't know what I would have been doing, but I know Dad's very important. And I guess my message is, if you're a dad, you're out there listening right now, let the demons go and show the happiness that you have for your child. You know, be somebody. You want to be a Randy and talk about your dad like he is right now. But that being said, that's enough of that, Bobby. But anyway, Randy, getting back to buck hunting, it's a great season, and appreciated you coming in and donating those hats. I gave one to Vash Schuberg. He brought a nice 10-point in the other day. I think it was 8 or 10. But the Schubergs, Tyler, Rex, and Vash, had a trifecta.
I saw that.
Yeah. You know, again, now we're talking about dads and grandpas. The Schuberg family has always been a tight family. Oh, they probably had their bouts like all of us have. But I said, you know, like the other day with Rex, was so proud to come in with his grandson and his son Tyler, and the history repeats itself, being a good family like that. But I was kind of excited about that. But anyway, what else? What else? I want to talk about them.
I appreciate all the kind words that you've said, and you've said about everybody. You're very kind that way. You got to give Pat a plug too. I enjoy seeing the sign every day where you're recognizing somebody in our community, and you do a good job of that. You're an ambassador for our community, and you're good for our community. And I know you're probably in your late 20s age-wise.
Yeah, there you go.
And, but as you get through your 30s and 40s, I think you're going to continue that. And Pat, you do a lot of good, and
I hope so. I love this town, and I do feel bad about the sign sometimes because I forget people. And there's been a couple, and I think I'm going to put them on there as not forgotten, but I forgot to put them up. You know, like Mary Eccles, I just want to touch on her for a minute. She was such a good Christian. She comes from the Olsen family and had a great family, raised a great family, and she worked at St. Vincent and St. De Paul there at St. Mary's for many years, coordinated that place, and I forgot to put her up. And forever, it keeps coming back to my mind that, hey, you forgot Mary, and I loved her dearly. But, sometimes I'm gone that weekend or something, or that week, and somebody will pass on, and that's the only bad thing about it. I kind of forgot some of these people, but I love doing it. The first one I ever put up there was my dad back in '96, January, when he passed. He died of cancer, and it was a big miss in my life, a void now that's still there, but I was fortunate to have a great dad just like you, and it's kind of nice because I'll never forget a guy that came in the station after my dad had passed. His dad died, and he was a professor at Ferris, and I knew him real well, and I won't say his name, obviously, but he came in. It was a Saturday morning. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to my dad's funeral. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he had passed, but they're from out of town. And he goes, that's all right. My dad didn't like me. And I said, what? And he goes, no, my dad, even on his deathbed, I went to see him. He said, why couldn't you have been more like your brother? Oh, my God. And he was a good man, this man was, and I felt so bad for him. But that being said, I thought to myself, you are blessed, Pat, that you had a father that you loved and loved you. So love one another. That song I played yesterday, Bob, who sings it again?
Joe South.
Joe South. I never heard of him. Dan Spadowski yesterday morning at the mayor's table said, Pat, you got to play this song, and it's called Walk in My Shoes. Walk a Mile in My Shoes. Have you ever heard it, Randy?
I believe I have.
I can't remember. It was originally sang in 1968, but Joe South wrote this song and sang this song, and I want people to listen to the words. And if you can get the words, it's almost like a prayer, isn't it, Bob? And it pretty much it sums up everybody's life. Be kind, be gentle. Don't hate, love. And if you don't, walk in my shoes, It's a pretty neat song, but I'm rambling on. It's 42 minutes now in the show, Bob. We want to appreciate Zot's Bar sponsoring us along with Sue Bean, Realty, Big Rapids Realty. Randy, you guys.
She and I share an office together.
Yeah, you guys are kind of like a family. Let's talk about that. Carol Betts has been a longtime friend of mine. Walt and I had a great relationship. He was very loyal to us, and Carol was back in the day, and the kids grew up coming in the gas station, and I just loved Carol to death, and that was a terrific, terrible loss that when Walt passed. I just didn't see that one coming, and that, again, it just like, wow, what happens, enjoy life. But then you have other ones too, like Sue in there, and you got Kayla in there, and I mean, you got a great staff there, don't you?
Mark Wentland did a great job.
Yes, he did.
Once again, I don't know how he let me in, but there are some great people there, and it's a family. We refer to ourselves as the Big Rapids Realty family, and I was blessed when I was at Morley Stanwood that at our elementary we said that same thing. We would have get-togethers together as family, and it's fun to work and just live in an area where you not only have your own family, but you see everybody else's family, and you are together as one great big community family. And in Big Rapids and Morley, Stanwood, Reed City, the area schools, there's a lot of that in our rural communities that we're blessed.
So on your Whitetails banquet in March, I know it's a ways off now, but time flies. Before you know it, Christmas is only, 6 weeks away. Who all goes to that? Do they come from Osceola too?
They come from all over.
All over.
Yeah,
You said that, yeah.
Yeah, and anybody can come. Whitetailsunlimited.com is always a place to look for tickets. Tickets will be available probably January, February, and there. But whitetailsunlimited.com, or they can call me, at the office or my.
Do you have a guest speaker then, Randy? There?
We don't.
No?
We don't. We do have the guest prayer giver, though. We have a world famous prayer giver, Skipper Bettis.
Oh yeah.
Every year leads our prayer.
Do? Yeah.
Does a great job, and he also does the auction for who eats, what table eats first.
Oh, okay.
We auction off a gun, and Skipper has his own unique style of auctioneering.
Wow.
Sometimes he goes from $100 to $300 and $500, and it's generous bidding that he helps with there. But no, he does a good job. He's our tradition. He does our prayer for us, and good Lord's been good to all of us.
Yeah, he has. Well, that being said, anything else? Bobby, can you think of anything? Well, that kind of wraps us up, Randy. Anything else about
no, just
buck pull?
Thanks so much for getting to talk about what we do with Whitetails and how Two Hats Ranch just does a great job taking care of the vets and the kids and the community. They're very supportive in the community. They do a lot with Ferris, I know.
Yeah.
And so just, hey, thanks for all you do.
It's all in God's hands, isn't it?
That's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I love it. I love Big Rapids. Well, God bless America. Until the next time, I want to thank Randy, our guest from Big Rapids Realty, but more importantly from Unlimited. Bucks Unlimited, is that what it's called?
Whitetails Unlimited.
I keep forgetting the whitetail, and I see whitetails all the time.
It's on the hat you're wearing.
I know it is. I love the hat. So if you want a hat, get in the buck pole.
We'll have a different color next year. They switch colors every year, so we'll look forward to having more next year.
There you go.
Thanks
again,
Bobby,
Pat. Until the next time, God bless you, Randy. Thank you.